to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Today is Friday. Of course, just trying to get my head on straight here. We've got Chris back in the saddle, so good to see he's seems to be in a bit better spirits from what I understand. To ask him about that if you so choose. I don't know what kind of broadcast we're gonna have. I suppose this is the live broadcast for the public. I see Adam over there, like an absolute stalwart. Actually, Adam suggested that he could maybe help me try and update this little old lady portfolio. I gotta tell you, I've been really slack about it. Not really too impressed with my job here of late, but I suppose the good part about it is the whole crypto market moved up. The little portfolio that we were running, and on balance, these numbers are generally right. I think we were up about doubled our stake here. So things moving nicely, but I get the feeling probably gonna have to cool our jets for a little bit here in crypto. You might see a bit of higher price appreciation, but unfortunately, can't really do a lot of buying here. So it's sort of just sitting on if the orgy wants to continue, great, they'll push things higher. However, awfully tough. Mind you, actually interesting in Solana land. I don't know whether Solana is ready to pivot and turn back up, but in Solana land, I did notice there were a bunch of the little, like, really pieces of crap little names, meme coins, all that kind of fun stuff that have, when the market does go soft, they just break and go right back down to their bottoms. So maybe in the after party, we'll surf through Solana names and maybe give you an idea or two. I have been posting a few ideas in the lounge, or at least in the little old lady room. Also, too, heading into the weekend. Usually the weekend, we find things a little bit more receptive in the market. Today is kind of a weird day in that really almost no news econ-wise to speak of. We did have a Fed speaker come up here literally as we were getting the video going here. And I did notice I had on a small short on the NASDAQ working, and it just got stopped at scratch as Mr. Fed speaker took the podium, and we started our broadcast here. So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know why, but for some reason, I'm in the only stock index that's actually up on the day, working a short. Go figure. And probably they run me out on Mr. Fed speaker taking the podium, and then they'll just pull it right back. Anyway, we'll see what happens. This stop, it's awfully hard to see on TradingView here. There's so many numbers all over the place here. I suppose we can get rid of this. And actually this is interesting. I think this is a pretty good example of that Mr. ICT guy's setup. Market was working its way higher, had a bit of a market structure bottom come in overnight. Market broke those lows, and it did it on just a big puke out. I don't know whether this is his setup or not, but I have noticed that this setup is working really well. So what the hell? So draw a 61.8 off of that entire range. There is your, I don't know what to call it, a fair value gap. We'll just call it maybe the puke out gap. We don't really need to steal his names, but anyway. The puke out gap, work your order at 61.8, and you can see on this event here, first thing this morning got filled. Market came right back down to this market structure bottom, took one of the contracts off, which is not a bad idea. This was an illustration of, didn't actually take that trade, but this one here. Hit that mountain man level, covered half of the position, moved my stop to scratch, and they just came and took me out like literally the moment the Fed speaker took to the podium. What was really interesting was this morning was through the euro close. It sure looked to me like they were trying to engineer some sort of, they wanted to run the Europeans out as, the weak positions out and I get the impression that the market was short. So they wanted to try and run the market out as high as possible and force them to cover their shorts at crappiest price possible. And then literally as soon as the euro close came in, we started hunting lower time setups. Anyway, I'm watching this market structure concept. I don't know whether this is an example of that ICT guy, but whoops. Why did it just get rid of that? I am watching this kind of idea. And I do like the idea that they broke the structure here, rallied it back into mountain man levels. We did start to see failure. And like I said, Mr. Fed governor comes and takes the podium, and everybody just sort of goes, "Oh, what the hell is he going to say?" And I get the impression that he's come out and just said something along the lines of, "I'm not lowering rates, screw you." and down goes the market. Well, it's kind of a bummer about this one. Like I said, why I picked the only market that actually has any strength today. If you look at the Dow, it's an absolute short and just total puke out central. Even the NASDAQ, the junior stock market, puke out central. The only market showing any strength out here at all today is the NASDAQ. And I have a feeling this is on things like the Reddit IPO. It came to market. I think actually Sjord mentioned this the other day. Where was that? It's not this screen. It's one of these screens. Over here. I thought I was it. And actually, this is an interesting one that this was one of Mr. Fink's favorite stocks. I've been watching to see whether I want to go and pick up a few shares of this thing or not. Anyway, this Reddit here, yeah, look at that. So they've actually turned this candle green here. It's interesting because they always say that, they always bring these damn IPOs out way overpriced. You all remember the coin IPO. Oh boy, was that ever a disaster. So the rule of thumb, believe it or not, is wherever they bring these things market out, usually they bring them out about 2 times what they're worth. And that in essence would imply that probably fair value on this thing's around maybe what, $23, $24, somewhere in that area. So that's what I would be watching for. But as you can see here on the screen, this is a daily chart. They gapped this thing open. The market did pull back and dump, and like the broader market, the Dow, brick and mortar, Russell 2000, all that, not happy at all today. But this guy seems to be catching a bit of a bid here. And, our CTO, Sjord, he had some interesting commentary about this Reddit IPO there the other day too. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I certainly don't have anything to do here. It's a really good example. Where I always use this. I suppose when you type in FB, it doesn't even load anymore. Oh, yeah, it does. There we go. Anyway, I suppose just like X, I'll probably always call that X Twitter. But same sort of thing with Facebook. Of course, I don't know how long it's going to take to load. If we go back a million years ago when it IPO'd, I remember everybody on the street was like, "This is ridiculous." How overpriced this IPO was, and like right out of the gate, the thing fell in half. So pretty good analogy of what I'm talking about. That also interesting too, though. Notice we came right out of the gate here at 42, and we had to dip, and you can see ultimately where the bottom is. W's. I guess this would be like an Eve and then Adam, but basically right around 22 bucks a share. So that's actually the way I'd like to see IPOs ultimately go. And then of course, if you look at that coin, oh boy, did it ever puke out. Anyway, not really wanting to talk about Facebook here today. I don't really care about that. One thing that really did jump out at me recently, which was a bit of a shock, we were talking about this through that FOMC event, how they dumped the market, this US dollar index, into good old Colin and his pump chaser zone. I like to call that the first stop target. And of course, WD GAN 50% rules. I mean, it's almost textbook. Also, too, interesting 50% level and also a really nice trend line tag, a little bit of a reversal right off of that trend line. And this really surprised me, them reversing this market hard, not looking back whatsoever, and busting it out to new highs. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. I'll tell you that much, bikecrackers. So a lot of the conversation that I had with you guys recently was, is this US dollar finished, which means that that's a risk on trade. But this actually, to me, says like risk off. And I guess what I'm worried about here now is, of course, we have big celestial events. We've got, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's the 25th, I guess, which is Monday, is this lunar eclipse we've been waiting for. And then out here, the end of the first or second week of April, we have the solar eclipse, which I think is actually the really important one. So believe it or not, what I think sort of happens here is they're going to sort of head fake the market through the first eclipse window. And I wouldn't even be surprised if this thing like comes down and then really the fireworks I think are supposed to happen on the solar eclipse. And this is actually where I think that the market needs to pivot. Also, too, if we look at things like the S&P 500, there is that sort of the lunar eclipse coming up here. I think it's the 25th. I don't know whether I'm absolutely correct on this or not. I think that's correct. If Cole's around, he could probably correct me on this. And I do like the idea that they bring it into this lunar eclipse. A little bit of a head fake. Everybody thinks, all right, this is the top, and maybe you might even find that it does that. And then there's one more push to new highs into the solar eclipse, and then we start our puke out. So if anything, maybe it's not a bad idea just to leave that on the screen here. We'll watch how this plays out. But the long and short of it is we're finally coming into this major event here. Like you see how the damn market pivoted on that last eclipse window. And also too, what I find incredibly fascinating is how the midpoint of this move, which you can't argue this. I mean, it's as plain as day. This was basically right on New Year's. I mean, that's insane how incredibly cliche that is. So this was like the, how does it go? Vernal equinox? I think that's how it is. In October. This is the spring equinox, and of course, March. There is the pivot in December. And, actually, I was even studying WD GAN here recently a little bit, and the topic that I was reading up on in that 30-second Joule, I think it is. I've got the book around here somewhere. Anyway, huge Bible of a book, and trading these eclipse events. And what's really interesting is that you're supposed to mark out on the calendar basically like quarterly events. So I find that incredibly fascinating that right through that vernal equinox, think quarterly, right into the end of the year, right into the end of the first quarter of 2024. I mean, just stunning how cliche this is. So anyway, we'll see what happens. You can see we have a 2.618 that should be tagged up here. We do have an AB equals CD target up top here. I have no idea, and I don't think it's a good idea to get into the business of predicting what's going to happen. But I'll be very interested to watch how we behave up through this window. If we start painting bearish divergences in momentum through this event, and then, of course, start getting like actual fractal sell signals, maybe even a double top up here, who knows? I would definitely say look out below. We're in for some fireworks to the downside. Thank you, sir. Also, too, probably not a bad idea. We check in on yield corn. So same sort of idea. You know, we had the big FOMC event. Actually, it doesn't look like I have that on here anymore. I might have accidentally moved it. Oh, anyway. This is that 1 month prior to having event window. And oh boy, what a surprise. And actually, the other day, I noticed that they brought the market back up, and I was kind of like, okay, well, you know, maybe we don't have an empire here forming. Maybe things are okay. Uh-oh. I really don't like the look of this. You know, as I had sort of said, and I even in our lounge, and of course, you know, I've been uber bullish of the whole crypto market, and of course, our fundamental analyst in the crypto space, Jörn, TRI's CTO, has just been absolutely destroying the market. Some of his picks have just, I mean, I don't know. Have you heard of this thing called render? I mean, what's incredible is that let's see, where can we put that on here? Maybe here. RNDR. I mean, is there a reason to join TRI? I mean, aside from your opinions about the Beamish, that's always a bit of a challenge unto itself. I mean, you know, some people like me, some people don't, and I don't hold it against you one way or the other. But this Sjord guy, he told everybody at TRI about this render back. I mean, it's shocking. Like literally back here. And I mean, I don't know. Do you think he's done fairly well? I mean, do you think the TRI portfolio has done well? I mean, you tell me. Is this worth maybe the subscription to TRI just to figure out what the hell Sjord's interested in? Keep in mind, he was interested in Luna at like 50 cents or some, you know, some crazy number like that. The damn thing went to over $100. And of course, I think here we go again. You know, I've put out a number of cautionary notes. In fact, actually, I had an interesting conversation with a site member. I think it was even yesterday about render, and these were the levels that I gave him. So I definitely think we're closer to the end of some sort of run. We've got a 1.13. This is a classic extension level, which we teach in the level 1 program. We have a 1.618, which of course is an alt AB equals CD. And I've told you before, if you ever see an alt ABCD and it hits the 1.618, this is like a no-brainer trade level. We also had this consolidation range, which broke out, which is a Feigenbaum. And then we had this AB equals CD, which is a bought target. And you can see how this ABCD had to hit that and then consolidate for a few weeks before it did its next leg higher. I don't know. Maybe we just consolidate for a month or so and then set up a new base for a new move higher. Maybe. But in the short term, and especially with all these celestial events and you know, a happening event coming up here, is it maybe a good idea just to cool your jets? And then more importantly, you know, remember the Beamish's birthday is coming up here pretty soon. We all know what the Beamish's birthday does to the market. So that's like right here. Could we have an opportunity where some of these altcoins maybe come back down to earth? You know, at any given point in time, we should expect 38.2 retracements at any given point in time, folks. So you can see where the vulnerability is here. So all I'm suggesting to people is, you know, if you're long and you bought W's, and I mean, there are a number of setups all the way along here. Keep in mind, this is a weekly price chart. Did you buy this bullish bot setup? That was an inverted head and shoulders. Did you buy this bullish bot setup? That was an inverted head and shoulders. Did you buy the original massive W bottom? Did you buy this? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. But can I come in and buy something here that looks like this? There's no way I can. I just can't. I'm sorry. So as a result, you know, like the message that I posted in the lounge, I mean, number one, is it worth being a part of TRI so that you can get what Mr. Sjord is most interested in the market right now from a fundamental perspective if you're crypto oriented? I think it's an absolute genius move just to just Mind-Fjord, right? Because he's one smart ass motherfucker. But then also too, throw in the Beamish has been at this silly game for 30 years. And when the public, of course, is circle jerking and they're all going crazy, is the Beamish maybe going to take the opposite side of the market? Probably. I mean, that's typically what Brian does. And so, I was even posting in the lounge and I said, if I could, and I'll finish off the video with just this kind of comment. There are a bunch of things that bother me here about the market. And I can't really get bullish again, especially with something like Bitcoin. We have this wonderful RSI tool that works really, really well if you can just obey when W's start coming in versus when M's are just dominating all over the place. I can't get bullish of this space, even on, dead cat bounce expectations until I see some sort of W come in here. And then also too, if we kind of think about big picture, I've been, and on the Sunday show, I cautioned you. I was worried, a lot of the Bitcoin ETFs, they have a whole bunch of these head and shoulders top, right? And of course, Mr. Wonderful IBIT, probably a really good example of this. Maybe we'll see on a 4 hour or something, right? Unfortunately, that's looking very head and shouldersy, right? So shoulder, head, shoulder. Do we blast through these necklines here? And if so, that's actually a measured move. And you're just going to take the distance from the head down to the neckline and project that down here. And it probably just simply says we probably need to come back down, fill in all these holes, and back down to sort of the most recent institutional fingerprint kind of idea. That would make common sense. You can also see it though too on things like Bitcoin itself. There's that same head and shoulders pattern. Also noticed too that this is happening right at our 38.2 first stop target. We always say maybe this is the only stop on the correction, but usually markets have to come down to those 38.2s. And I might argue that if we lose those levels, then we have to start thinking reload zones, which means we're probably going to have to start thinking somewhere between about 46 and 51, 52,000. And that's that consolidation zone right in there that you see on this chart right in here. I think that it's common sense. It's not really grandiose predictions. The momentum of the market is not happy at all. If we look, ironically enough, MACD is in divergence. We haven't really got a massive volume breakout. The bears still look pretty active. You can see how OBV is really fighting in here. Till we start seeing some W's in here, I might just cool my jets. And unfortunately, Willie isn't anywhere near stupidly oversold. Lots of cautionary words. I kept going on and on and on. Half of the reason why I build these indicators is to keep me out of trouble. And when Willie was stupidly overbought here, we had no business on the buy side of this market at all. And really, I might argue that, it might just be one of these flash dips and then we take off again. But just like the RSI, can I please at least see some sort of W type price action here to sort of halt my bearish enthusiasm? It's not a sell Bitcoins, or it is if you did buy, for heaven's sakes, take some profits and pay yourself. And there's no way in hell I can come in on the buy side when this looks like this. Now, maybe all we do through this whole correction is just simply go sideways and start painting W's. And if I can get 3 higher lows, great, awesome. We're back on the bull side. But while we're still looking like this, there's not really much for me to do. And I think the very first thing, if you want to add this to your repertoire, I think it works really, really well. But the very first thing that we need to see is we got to stop seeing M's out of our RSI, and we got to start seeing some W's. And I think it's just that simple, folks. And then just to finish off the conversation, if we look at the broader crypto market, it looks very similar. I mean, I see a lot of these poop coins and, sort of various shalt coins doing their sort of starting their correction process. Yes, we had trade location. We've been barking about trade location forever now. Now, interestingly enough, when I recently did these, I had like the question mark upside down because we just didn't have trade location. So I had it like that. Not yet, or excuse me, indicator confirmation. Now the question mark is upright. Why? Because you can see, spaghettios. Willie's stupid. M's in the indicators. In fact, you might even argue that's a nice little Davos short signal right there. And you can see they are correcting. Now, just like the Bitcoin broader market, the Bitcoin market, got to see some sort of W's in here before I can even think about getting bullish. So, let's all, chant together. Come on, crypto. Come on, some sort of bull. Come on. But you can't push a chain. So don't assume that this W is going to come in. It will come in if and when it comes in. And unfortunately, with regard to things like overbought, oversold indicators, we're just now coming out of the overbought zone. So I don't know how long this is going to take to correct. But again, we got to start seeing some sort of W action out of this indicator. And ideally, sadly, I'd actually like to see it get oversold here before I can start getting bullish of the crypto space again. So what it does mean is if you are a crypto enthusiast and you're crypto, rah crypto, all that kind of fun stuff, you got to be very, very cautious through here. And so, the whole point of where I was going with all this is I even said, to be honest, folks, we'll be rather cautious about buying anything for a while. And then, Brian's not very good at all this social media stuff. So how do I bold this? How do I get people to pay attention? So Stewart came in and he italiced it, and then Bender came in and he bolded it. So if anything, I hope everybody on the site enjoyed that bull run. It was a great bull run. Oh, did my computer just crash? That's interesting. Not quite sure why that happened. But if anything, now caution is definitely the better part of valor. So please, everybody, go slowly. Remember what your number one job is. Don't take no wooden nickels. You all know how this goes. So I'll see everybody Sunday. Just play it cool. Okay. For Uncle Brian. All right. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. And bye for now.